We're here for the UNIFI new user introduction, as you can see on screen there. So my name's Glenn Sinclair from IGS BIM Solutions. So we're the partner for UNIFI here in Australia and New Zealand. So the agenda that we're going to be going through is on the screen there. The basics about the interface, moving into looking at searching, inserting content, of course, looking at browsing content, there's some filters that can be used. And then we're going to come back around and have a more detailed look at some advanced search options and some of the other file formats that can be used in UNIFI. So at any time during this presentation, if you have any questions, please use the chat function inside of the Zoom tool, and I'll come back to those at the end and answer any questions. All right, so UNIFI itself is a desktop application, just like Revit and so on, so you can run it independent of Revit by double-clicking the desktop icon. It's also available from inside of Revit. So in the add-ins tab, once UNIFI is installed, you can run it using the icon there. So that will prompt you to log in before opening up the tool here. So there is also inside of Revit an option there for auto start, which is going to launch the UNIFI tool every time you open Revit. But you won't be using that initially, so please don't activate that feature straight away. We're looking to have a look at the current license usage during using insertion of the tool rather than having everyone start it straight away. So, as I said, it is a separate application that sits alongside of Revit. So, as far as the user interface goes, the main menus down the left-hand side, all of the different icons. So those are the aspects I'll be covering today. Just some things to let you know about the user interface. Up in the top right, we have a couple of special buttons. So one of those is to pin topmost. So that's going to make sure if you're working with UNIFI and Revit, when you select Revit in the background and perform some actions, the UNIFI interface doesn't disappear. So that's great if you've maybe got two screens or Revit stretched out over a couple of screens there. The other option there is the auto collapse. So the auto collapse is going to, if I select away from UNIFI back into Revit to perform some actions, UNIFI remains, but in a collapsed state that you can see there. So that's handy to dock right about there in your Revit, just above your drawing screen. So you can be in Revit, continuing on with your work, and then back into UNIFI to manage your content and insert content. So I will turn those off for the moment and just full screen here. So the other option in the top right that you'll see is which session of Revit UNIFI is talking to. So it does work with multiple versions of Revit and multiple sessions of Revit open. So at the moment, I can see that it's talking to Revit 2018, which is that sample project open. I can change that by clicking the other project there. Now any content I insert will be the 2016 version of the content and insert into the advanced sample project. So you can easily swap between those two when you're working with multiple sessions of Revit in the background. All right, so as far as the search function, hopefully the main thing that you'll do in UNIFI is searching for content. It is designed to be a fairly simple search there. So a bit like Google, if I was searching for a chair object, I'm just going to type chair, and I'm going to hopefully get some nice looking results in the library. So the areas that I've searched, or the libraries that I've chosen to search in, are controlled by this toggle to the left of the search bar. So at the moment, I'm only searching within my company's library and only in the one called company library. The other options are for shared libraries that have been shared with by other companies to yourself, or what we call the channels. So the channels are manufacturer content that's available through UNIFI. So you can choose to also search through manufacturer channels and perform the same search. And you're going to get many more results, some from manufacturers, Herman Miller in this case, and some from the company library. I'll just take that back off for the moment. So with the company libraries, the way that your company libraries are set up at the moment is fairly typical, with a separate details library for your annotation objects. An annotation library, a details library, and then a model family library. So that's a fairly standard setup that you'll have to choose from with the libraries there. So that was a very basic search just for the word chair. You can go slightly more advanced with that by the use of searching for tags. So if I was to hit the open square bracket button on the keyboard, it's going to activate the tags function. And using tags, I can further drill down into certain types of chairs. So if I was to type in office, I'm only going to get chairs with the tag of office on them. So I will go through a little later about how to add tags to content, and that can be done in batch or as a one-by-one option. So by simply typing in the open bracket character, it's going to open up a list of all the tags that are in the current library and give you the choice to type in there with whichever one you were looking for. So when UNIFI performs a search, it's going to, in simple terms, it's going to search in the Revit category. So for doors, it will search with anything in the Revit category for doors. Also in the family name, in any type name, and in the tags themselves. So I'll go into a bit more detail as far as searching goes later on in the session. But for now, that's all we'll really cover there. If you have done a fairly detailed search and got the results you were looking for, it is possible to also save those searches off. So using the save button to the top right there, I can save that same search and make it easily accessible for later. So I would give that a name. I think I've already got one called office chairs, so I'll give it a 2. I can further refine the search now that I'm in this area. I can choose that this search is either in one of my personal groups, so furniture and system there, just for me, or into a company library. So your admins can create saved searches that the whole company can access to make it easier there. So if I put this into my furniture library, give it a wee icon there. What were we doing? Chairs. Wherever she is. I don't know, chair. I don't know if it is. Sofa. When I hit save, that's going to save that search. So previously I clicked on the top left icon, the search for content. If I was to click on the saved searches icon, I've got both company saved searches and my saved searches. So under furniture, the search I just made by selecting the icon performs the same search again. So good to have your own saved searches there to get through the content, but also if you've got any suggestions for your admin team of saved searches that you would like to use, you can suggest them to them. So once you have performed a search, inserting content is fairly simple. So it's just a matter of selecting the icon, I suppose, of the family, and that will activate Revit in the background and activate the placement tool for that element type. So in this case, it's just a component place tool, the standard Revit tool. I'll click to place. And then just by exiting the placement tool, so I hit escape twice, it's going to return back to UNIFI. Whoops. So UNIFI can only communicate with Revit when it's inactive, as in when it's not got another tool currently active. So if you find that you're stuck on a message inside of UNIFI saying communicating with Revit and waiting, what you'll find is that there's probably a tool or an option halfway through. So if I was editing the store type and then went to try and insert a chair, it's going to get a bit stuck because it can't communicate with Revit halfway through the store type command. So I can come back into Revit and either escape or cancel out of that dialog box, which then enables UNIFI to communicate with Revit and place the content. Okay. The other somewhat special item when it comes to placement of content is with type catalogs. So if I was to look at a family that had a type catalog associated with it, it's going to, first of all, it's going to have a special little icon to the bottom right. It has the TC type catalog icon. And I'm going to get an extra option when I select the family. It's going to display the type catalog dialog as we're somewhat familiar with Revit. So in the same way, I can filter those down if there's many of them, select the ones to add to Revit with either control click or shift click and select load. So on the first time I loaded this family in, there were no other types of that particular window in the project. But the second time I go to insert the same family, You'll notice that it's showing me in orange the types that already exist in the project, and the white ones haven't been added yet. So I can go ahead and add a few more. I can also choose to override any of the existing types in the project with those from the library. So I hit load, it's going to take in those extra types into the project there. Okay. So as I mentioned, with inserting content, up to the top right is the session of Revit that it is talking to. So if I was to change over to Revit 2016 there, I'm now looking at the Revit 2016 version of these families, and when I select one, it's no longer going to open up Revit 18, it's opened up Revit 2016 in the background, that session, to insert that content. So always need to be aware of which session you're talking to in the top right there. Okay, so that was searching for content and inserting content. I'm going to move on to browsing for content. So possibly not so commonly used, but it is possible to just good old-fashioned browse through your library. So inside of a certain library, this one's called company library, the families will be split out by their category, so their Revit category there. And selecting on one of those categories is going to open up the all of those results. So with both searching and browsing content, as I'm doing here, it can be viewed in a couple of different ways. So the first way is this grid, the default grid mode with the large thumbnails. You can also view it in list mode, which is more like a data sort of view of the content. And then the, whatever this one's called, details view. So this is going to give you the thumbnail, but some more of the information about the piece of content if need be. So most commonly, this is the old grid mode there. So we've looked at searching for content, we've looked at browsing content. I'm going to show you, so in both the search and in the browse mode, I suppose, we can further filter our results using this button up to the top right here, so the filters area. So I'll explain a little bit about how that works and how it's different in some cases to the search bar. So in the search bar, when I'm performing a search, that's what's known as an AND search. So if I was to search for two words, chair, table, with a space in between, it's searching for any families with both the words chair and table in the family name. So the chair tablet, I'll explain a little later, but table, chair, you can see are in both of those words. If I was just to perform a wildcard search, so that's just the asterisk search, and then use a filter. The filter is what's known as an OR search. So if I was to again put the same term in there, chair, table, and hit enter, that's searching for any families with the word chair or the word table. So there's a lot more results there. So up in the search bar, it's an AND search. In the filters area, it's an OR search. So those results that we've now got can, of course, be saved off into a saved search there. The other areas that I can filter on with the star rating here. So if anyone in your firm has taken the time to rate the content out of 5, you can perform a search or filter the results, sorry, based on the star rating. So if I hit 3+, it's anything with a 3-star and above rating. It's been rated there. The other filter is with the favorites. So if you have set certain favorite families, which I'll show you how to do in a sec, you can search only within your favorites. Filter only within your favorites. You can filter out certain family categories, so that's talking about Revit categories there. You can change the way those results are sorted. And you can also choose for only certain file types. I can filter down to only Revit loadable families, for example. So that sort of brings me on to the next topic about different file formats inside of UNIFI. So it's not just the loadable families that are available in UNIFI. You can also, as far as Revit goes, load up all of those families you can see there in the filters area. So detail and model groups can be loaded, drafting views, materials coming very soon, January 4th, 2019, is the ability to add materials to UNIFI Library, and Revit schedule sheet, of course, system families like walls and roofs and things like that. So those can all be hosted up into UNIFI. Using the filters, you can filter your results to only see certain objects there. So that's all I'm going to cover on filters. So drilling down a little further, looking at one particular piece of content. Before, when I wanted to insert the content, I clicked the thumbnail, and that was to insert down here. If I click the name of the family, it's going to go into a more detailed view of just this one family. So I can still insert from this menu by clicking the thumbnail again. It's going to give you a little more detail about the file. We can see the types listed out. If there are more than one type of this family, we'll be able to see those listed out in tabs, and a little about the history of the file. So what version it was uploaded in, what versions it's available in, and so on. And so the administrators, library administrators, can also use this area to manage the content. So once I'm in this view, this detailed view of the content, this is also where I would add this if it was one of my favorites. I can do that by clicking the little heart icon up to the top right. That's now added that chair to my favorites list. And I can add any additional tags in here as well. So if I wanted this to be part of that office furniture search that I did earlier, I can add the tag like so to add that to my search list. Okay, so the next aspect that I'll cover is requesting new content. So there is the content request button here down the next icon down, this request content option. So this is for requesting new families to be made or existing families to be modified from your company librarians inside of UNIFI. So the top line there is we fill out what the family is for. If it's for a particular project number or name, you can pop it in there. When the family is due and the priority of that. You can, as a user, select which library you think it belongs in. So you can say that, yep, this is for the company library. Thank you very much. The type of file you're requesting, so most commonly a Revit family. And if there's a particular year, if your project is in Revit 2016 or 17, for example, you can specify that here. The units will obviously normally be metric. There's a small area here for the standards, so hopefully it'll be to the normal standards there, but if there's any special requirements, project-specific standards or region-specific, you can make note of that here. Also your suggested file name, and of course the instructions for creating the content. So this would be a short description of what is needed, possibly any web hyperlinks to go in this area. If you have any images or PDF data sheets, they can be uploaded as well. So either by dragging and dropping into the grey area here, or by clicking on choose to browse and upload any related documents to that family. So by default, the librarian team will be notified. So you can choose just additional groups if needed to be notified about that and hit create content request. So that's going to notify the people who have been assigned the librarian task inside of UNIFI. And that can go back and forth as a conversation as the content is created, and if there's more questions inside the UNIFI system, ultimately resulting in a completed family being created, hopefully. So that's the content request piece of that. So some of the other functions down the left-hand side are more for administrators, so I won't cover all of those. A couple that we will look at is just the help button. The get support. So if you've got a technical question there, you've got the email support button. That's just going to open up an email either with a bug request or a general question inside of your Outlook email program. But if you have anything that you see that UNIFI doesn't do that you would like to request, you can use this request a feature area. So that's where all of the feature requests are housed. So you'll do a quick search, make sure no one else has requested it. And if they have, please give it a +1. But yeah, if you'd like to see something new inside of UNIFI, please use that function to ask for that. Next here is the training resources. So there's a few videos in that link that show you sort of the basics that I'm covering now. Okay, so that was really it for the basics. I wanted to come back around to a bit more of an advanced look at the search function. So I briefly mentioned earlier that it searches based on category, family name, type name, and tags. So the way that it works is that each of those aspects of the family are given a score. So for the category feature, it gets 2 points. If the word door was searched, if door is in the category, it gives it 2 points. If door appears also in the family name, it gives it another point, 1 point. If it's in the type name, another point, and if it's in a tag name, it gives it a further point. So the families with the most points appear at the top of the search results. So if you had a door family that was in the door category with door in the family name, type name, and a tag with door, that gets 5 points, so that's likely to be at the top of your search results. So that's how it ranks families. If it can't find the exact word, say door, inside of a family, it's going to try and perform a partial match. So what that is for longer terms, so search terms, 4 characters or longer. If the word door is in the family, so the starts with the word door, sorry. So if the family had doorway in the family name, so revolving door, for example, there, it's going to perform a partial match. Actually, not only on the first 4 characters of the word. So that's why when I did that chair table search earlier, it came up with the tablet armchair because table is at the start of that word. So any dashes or underscores, it treats as space bars when it does a search. So it picked up that the word table is a partial match to the word table at the start of that word there. So that's why it's come up with that as a search result there. So that's only at the start of the word. So like I said, the word door would also bring up a family called doorway, but it wouldn't bring up any family that was called indoor, for example, because door is the second half of the word. For shorter terms, so less than 3 characters, it's going to also perform an acronym search. So there is a list, there's a longer list than this, but I've sort of narrowed it down to just sort of some of the applicable ones of acronyms that it's also going to search. So if you were to type in the search term FR, it's going to expand that for you to the word furniture. So MTL for metal, opposite OPP, and so on. So there's a list of acronyms that can be used, and it's going to auto expand that acronym and search for the full term that you can see to the right there. So those are some of the commonly used ones. There's a larger list available online, but just thought I'd quickly cover those ones. So if I was to do a search FR, the term FR, there would be, I don't think any furniture with just the word FR in the name, but it's searched also the furniture category and so on. So that was with the search. Another slightly advanced item when it comes to search is that UNIFI picked up here that we are talking to Revit 2016, so we're dealing with Revit here. So it's automatically filtered down the results from my search to only include those files that are compatible with Revit 2016. So I can use this little link here to expand that out to include any other families or files. So this would include any other formats, which I'll cover in a second, but also these furniture schedule families. If I open up one of those, I think so that was uploaded in Revit version 2018. So it's not available in 16, so it's grayed out, but you can swap back to only showing the results compatible with Revit 2016 using the hyperlink there. So yeah, so that goes same for other file formats. So if I was to use the browse function, go through to my documents library here, if I was to open up the PDF area, I would expect to see some PDFs there. But again, UNIFI at the moment is talking to Revit 2016, so it is only showing me those files compatible with Revit 2016. So by clicking the hyperlink there, I can actually see the PDFs available. So I did mention a little earlier about the file type filter. So you can see all of the file types, the common file types that are used here. So UNIFI can house almost any file type apart from executable files that could contain software or viruses. So there's a list of common options there for filtering. So we've obviously got some deep hooks into Revit when it comes to doing different things with different family types and so on. So the Revit connection is quite strong. Also with AutoCAD, going to house your CAD blocks and insert those as a block when you use them from UNIFI with AutoCAD open in the background. PDF is the other special file type. So with a PDF, if I was just to select the icon there, it's going to actually view that PDF inside of UNIFI. There's a little built-in PDF viewer inside of UNIFI so that it can browse that. Ooh, that's a pretty big one there, isn't it? There we go. So that's the other file extension that has special behavior, but any other file format apart from the CAD, Revit, and PDF, if I click that file, it's just going to effectively hand that off to Windows to open up. So a Word document is just going to open up in Microsoft Word. So if I select that file, it gives it over to Microsoft Word to figure out what to do with it, which is open that up. So that's based on the Windows behavior. If you wanted that with the PDF, you can right-click and say Open in Default Application if you want that to open in the native PDF viewer for your computer, so Adobe or so on. So that is about it. That's all I had to cover for the official part of the webinar. Thank you very much for attending.